And welcome once again to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. My name is Randy Cook. I'm here each week with Marc Oslar as we talk a little bit about some of the things about retirement and talking about some of the issues and some of the uncertainties and some of the questions and maybe some of the worries that you have as well. And we hope that we handle some of those things here on the show. And if it's time to talk about your retirement and actually put pen to paper and do some math on your retirement, you know, we turn the calendar on a brand new year. This is the year to get it done. Let's start there. Marc, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Randy. I'm just so excited. It's a new year. Mm-hmm. We're having a great time over here. We're going to be talking about some great stuff over the radio today, aren't we?
Well, I just talked to somebody and I said, how was your holiday? And he said, my girls now are at the age where I don't have to put Barbie Dream House together anymore. And so I didn't have to do that. But now everything they want is really expensive. So your girls are growing up too. Are you still putting together stuff in the middle of the night beforehand, or are you past that now?
I'm a little bit past that. It's not quite like it used to be, but we'll just share. I mean, my oldest one, she's 25 now, mm-hmm. and my second oldest one, she's 20. And then the last two, of course, are 13 and 8. Now, okay. The 8-year-old, you would think, you got to do some stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But to be honest with you, I've had enough of those years. I don't need to relive those. A little bit of trauma there, too, as well. But, we're going to get through it.
I got you.
Yeah, there's 4 girls, by the way, if you didn't know.
Yeah, 4 of them. All 4 girls. Yes, indeed. He's got quite the house full. Well, what we want to do for you is to kind of construct your retirement plan here. And if you don't know how to go about that, Marc does it every day for people. You're going to go through retirement once. He goes through it lots of times, every single week, all the years that he's been helping people. And it's good to have somebody who's been down that road before. So we're going to give you the number. I'll give you the website as we go through the show, 984-300-1984. Pretty easy number to remember, 984-300-1984. If it's time to talk about your retirement, let's get something down on paper. And, Marc, I'm sure that as somebody walks through your door, sits down at the conference table, there's a whole list of questions that you have for them. What did you do to save? What do you want to do in retirement? Do you want to move? Do you want to stay? Lots of different questions there. But what I've got in front of me here is the top 4 questions or concerns that people have for you, that they want you to solve for them. So here they are. I want to see how this squares against what you see. Number 1 is, am I protected against a market downturn? Number 2 is, do I have what I need to outpace inflation if that comes back? Number 3, am I going to be able to meet all my goals? And number 4, how do I preserve this and pass it along if I'd like to do that? So do those questions come up in any way, shape, or form? People might phrase them just a little bit differently. And what do you see that might be missing from this list that people are asking you?
Oh, this is fantastic. This is a great little bullet point list here where we can discuss a few things here that folks will bring up when we sit down in the office, right? So the first one you brought up was, am I protected from a market downturn? Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's interesting because this comes up often, right? And the question is whether the person is serious about this question or not. What do you think I mean by this, Randy?
Are they serious about? Well, I think that sometimes they'll say, "Yeah, I could handle a 10 or a 20% market pullback," and then you go, "Well, you realize that's $200,000." Then they go, "I can't handle a 10 or 20% market pullback." When you put it in dollars, sometimes it really gets real, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And folks want to know, hey, if I got $500,000 that I'm working off of here, if the market corrected by 20% and I lost $100,000, is that going to change some things? So, and this is a real conversation. And also, are you withdrawing off this money too? We talked about in the past sequence of returns, and if you're taking withdrawals on the sequence of returns, how it could be very different. If you could have a loss in a particular year and you just switch the years up, how there could be a drastic difference between what you started with and where you're at this point. Mm-hmm. So obviously, building in what we like to talk about on this show, preservation tactics, mm-hmm. right? So we talk about 3 things. We like that PIG acronym, which is preservation, income, and growth. So that first thing we talk about is preservation, okay? Obviously, the first bullet point and the last bullet point are kind of similar.
Yeah.
How do I preserve and pass on what I built? Well, it's similar to How am I protected from a market downturn? A lot of times we have these questions that pop up about advisors, okay? And I've brought this up on the show before in the past, but for example, Fisher Investments, they only want to operate in the fiduciary capacity, right? Which just means that they're only going to work as an advisor. They don't want to do any insurance practices or anything like that, right? We do. Mm-hmm. We do all of that. We do the insurance products and practices along with the advisory practice as well, because we believe in both sides of the business, and I think it's very important. So if you're talking about preservation, how can you have true preservation without insurance products? You really can't. So that's a conversation that'll come up, all right? So if you're serious about it, then these are the types of conversations we want to have. And you might say, oh, the A word, annuity. Mm-hmm. Yes, that is a version of a preservation tactic. It could also provide income too. Let's talk about how do we outpace inflation. Well, my objective is not for us to outpace inflation, not if you're coming close to or if you're in retirement. My objective is to keep up with inflation. So how do we really keep up with inflation? Because if you're trying to outpace inflation, that just means you're still thinking about accumulation. You're trying to make as much money as possible, stay ahead of the curve, right? But with us, what we want to do is make sure you keep up with the rate of inflation. If we do that, if we do our job ahead of time, it might seem like we're ahead of inflation in certain years. Let's just say, for example, we started working on this in 2008. And here we are, 2026, 18 years later. Well, guess what? Inflation took a dip, right? We watched us be in a society where we held down interest rates for years, Randy, for years. And because of that, we couldn't receive or feel the real inflation if we didn't prepare for it and you were in retirement. If you kept things, straight across the board, then you really felt inflation really hard recently when we went through the massive inflation. But if you prepared ahead of time, you would have felt ahead of the curve. And then what would have happened is it would have turned back and maybe you would have been prepared. And then maybe your money or your bottom line would be similar to where we're at today. So just preparing for things in the future, it could look like you're ahead or a little bit behind at times. But if we just keep up with the rate of inflation, it certainly would help you in your retirement years with regards to that second bullet point, income that I talked about. Income, how do we keep up with the rate of inflation? And then how do taxes impact our income? Because income is paramount in retirement. But what is that other bullet point we talked about? We talked about 1, we talked about 2, and we talked about 4. We talked about protection from market downturn. That was 1. Mm-hmm. 4 was how do we preserve and pass on what we built? Obviously, if we're preserving, then we also can figure out how we can pass that on through estate planning, right? Mm-hmm. That's sometimes involving attorneys, but maybe just listing beneficiaries as well. We also talked about outpacing inflation, which I said, let's keep up with the rate of inflation. And then, am I going to meet my goals? Oh, I like this one. Mm-hmm. I like this one a lot because you should have goals. Every one of us should have goals. I have clients from time to time come back to me and say, hey, Mark, I don't think this annuity is really growing as much as I'd like it to. Well, of course they're going to say that right now. The market is just massively up, right, mm-hmm, Randy? Mm-hmm. We've had, return after return. We talk statistically about how year after year we're hitting these record earnings and returns in the market, and yet at the same time we haven't had a correction since the end of 2009. Right? This is serious territory. So the question is, are you serious about preserving what you worked your whole life for? Because the objective is not to understand, do we have the right goals in mind? So building in the right preservation tactics, maybe having the right amount of money in the market that you don't mind having some risk, right? But we can manage the risk more appropriately too. So we talk about structured notes. Sometimes structured notes have things called barriers and buffers, and those can have some preservation tactics built in too. So having these conversations and discussing what your objectives are, but we have to have realistic goals. So with a preservation tool like an annuity, you're not going to make more than the market or what the market's making, but you should expect returns based on how we've allocated the money. And in addition to that, have we done it for income purposes? Well, that's different now than growth purposes. So there's a lot of different bullet points here, Randy. I know we've discussed a lot all at once, but what I want to keep it is as simple as possible. Let's have goals for you. Let's have realistic goals. But let's build in the 3 things that we know are really important: preservation, income, and growth.
When you look at this list, they're literally looking at you and Mark and saying, I want you to protect me against this. And there's so much uncertainty in retirement. We don't know what markets are going to do. We don't know what taxes are going to do. We don't know what the economy is going to do. And we want to protect against those kind of things. So the idea of preserving your money, you've worked all these years for it, and saying, I don't want this to go away, I don't want to run out of money, is such an important part of this conversation. This whole idea of inflation, to me, I know that President Trump ran on that and saying, I'm going to bring prices down. But I don't know anybody who can call Amazon and call Target and call Kroger and say, cut your prices by 20%. Nobody can do that. So how do prices go down? Prices go down if we have a real big economic pullback and there's not as much demand anymore. If the people aren't buying hotel rooms in Las Vegas, the prices will go down. So as long as this economy is roaring, I don't see prices going down. And the other thought of that is wages going up. Like you talk about growth. We need wages to go up so we can afford this. And then they say, if you bring wages up, that causes inflation. So it's a tough thing. And I think when we talk about what we need in retirement, Mark, income. What solves a lot of these problems is developing the income you need for retirement. So when we talk about that every week, and we do, PIG, preservation, income, and growth. Let's get those three elements in your retirement. And if you don't have them right now, give Mark a call and let's put pen to paper and do it. Moretoretire.com is the website. More to Retire, to spell it right out. Moretoretire.com. There's a place for you to put a little information in there. Mark's team will reach out to you, or you can reach out to him right now. It's 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. It's a no-cost, no-obligation meeting. Okay, so you touched on this a little bit, so I'm glad that you did. I was reading in Financial Advisor magazine, and it said 9 out of 10 clients come to us, and they want something that we can't generally provide. And then they say, here come the insurance companies. There's always been a little bit of a rub, a little bit of a rift that goes between the financial advisors and the insurance agents. The financial advisors do the risk money. The insurance agents do the income and the guaranteed money. And people want both. And at the end of the article, it says, for the good of the client, we have to embrace this relationship. Mark, I think it's so important for somebody to come to someone like you who has the ability to play in both fields, because we as people going into retirement, we need both these things, don't we?
We do, and that's my opinion. Obviously, we're all going to have opinions when it comes to this, but not all of my clients do both. Mm-hmm. Okay, it depends on your age, depends on your risk tolerance, but I would say the larger majority of my clients do both because they want both, mm-hmm. and I understand why they want both because obviously with the insurance stuff, you got preservation tactics. When you've got market money, we can manage the preservation tactics, like I said before, through structured notes and things like that. But again, you still have risk involved. And so these are the conversations that we have when this comes up. It's important to have this conversation. So I go back when I first got in the insurance business back 2001, right? So that's coming up on 25 years here. And I'll say that it was a problem back then. Now, 25 years later, what I can say is the landscape has shifted and changed quite a bit. What do I mean by that? Well, let me share with you. I'll use this software that I pay a monthly subscription for that gives me access to all the annuities you could possibly think of out there in the marketplace, right? It could be a fixed index annuity, could be a registered index linked annuity, a variable annuity, whatever it might be, an immediate annuity. So I use this because I want to be transparent with my clients to share with them on the big screen and show them what's out there, what's available, why this might be a fit for you, so on and so forth. But it's also a resource for me to research a product, if it's a current product, where I can get some more details about it, especially if they don't have a policy available to look at. So I do this specifically because I want to make sure that I have the resources and the answers for people, when it comes to this. But this is what I'm talking about, Randy. When you go on there and you just go on the marketplace and you research these products, they're not just for independent agents anymore or people that are working strictly for insurance companies, right? What they all also are for now, you'll see sometimes on there, it'll say broker-dealer. or you'll see fee-based. So if it's fee-based, a lot of times that's on a registered investment advisor platform. You'll also see one that says bank. And so those ones actually aren't available to me because I stay on the independent agent side of the business, on the insurance side. But I'll say 25 years ago, it wasn't the case. The broker dealers were freaking out because they were losing a bunch of money to fixed and fixed indexed annuities. And they were losing their shirts because they're like, all this money's leaving the marketplace and they couldn't handle it. Now they're coming to the table with deals because they realize, well, if we're going to lose on the market side, we want to make on the insurance side. So there's a little bit of a marriage over these last 25 years, and you're seeing some things a little differently than you've seen before because they're willing now to look and operate in those types of products, even if it's not something that they offer right away.
It's very common when you'll sit down with a financial advisor, they're going to put a pie chart in front of you, and one side will be red and the other side will be green. And you go, what does that all mean? And so the red side is the risk money. That's the money that can go up and down in the market, and the green side is the money that is less risk and is not susceptible to the market. And then you got to figure out on that pie chart, how much green do you want? How much red do you want? And this is that conversation. I want something that gives me income. That's that green side over there that doesn't go up and down with the market. If you want more of that, then you work that kind of thing out. This is the conversation that you can sit down and have with Marc. You might not be a person who ever played a hand of blackjack, and you would never do that. And you're not a risky person. You've been conservative your whole life. That's okay. There's a place for you. There's a plan for you. You might say, well, I'll take a little bit of risk here or there. There's a place for you too. Let's have that conversation. Call Marc. Give the team a call. Moretoretire.com is the website. Look through there. There is a place for you to put some information there. Marc will reach out to you or call yourself. It's 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. I mentioned buying the dip. People have cash on the sidelines. Market goes down 1,000. They rush in and buy the deal and then hope that the market goes back up again. Well, the Wall Street Journal took a deep dive into buying the dip, and they found that it doesn't always work if you try to do it over and over and over again. Marc, have you seen this? Is this something that you actually do? I mean, it seems like a logical thing. Market goes down a ton like during COVID, and then all those stocks were really depressed, so we go in and we buy them, hoping they'll go back up. It makes sense, but buying the dip isn't always a great strategy for a retiree, is it?
No, it's not. As a matter of fact, if you're coming into retirement or you're in retirement, that's not the objective here. Obviously, we don't want to see you just constantly looking to buy the dip. Mm-hmm. That's not the objective because we're looking to give you some, we call it preservation, that might give you some stability. You want to get your feet under you. So if you're looking for income, we want to make sure the income is from places that you don't have to have so much worry about, right? So maybe it is the preservation area or tactics, and maybe we build in some other areas in the market where maybe we can pull some income from in those ways as well. But again, we want stability first. So preservation tactics are really important. No, we're not. Our objective is not to buy the dip. I'll share with you on our market money. For example, in our advisory practice, the registered investment advisor firm Impact Partnership Wealth, they have a group called Market Guard. It's a group of chartered financial analysts, very smart people. They have some custom-made models. I'm one of only 300 advisors that can have access to that. Now, with that, that's in-house for us. And I'll share with you that we have a pure equity model. And our pure equity model, you think, oh, well, so you're just trying to make as much money as possible. No, that's not the way our pure equity model works. So our objective with our pure equity model, with Market Guard, with the opportunity model, is to be in 100 different positions. And so when you're in 100 different positions, do they just stay in those positions? No, they actually are rebalanced every single quarter. Why are they rebalanced every single quarter? Because there are scientific methods that go about this where there are signals that's non-emotional and it's based on what's seen. So these things will change and shift and the weights and measures will change. So if I go way back 9 months ago, I remember that we were over 50% in mid-cap. Now, if you look at our mid-cap now, it's somewhere between 12 and 15%. It's a huge difference, right? So again, it's the objective of understanding where we're at within relation to the market. But the objective is not to buy the dip, especially with our Market Guard pure equity model. Our objective is to be very similar with returns to the S&P 500 with the same wobble effect. We call it the standard deviation, right? So, for example, we use these to break up correlation, but also it might build in some little bits of preservation tactics too, and that's another way we can manage the portfolio.
Yeah, when I think about people who buy the dip, I kind of want to look at them and then go, now what? Because you buy the dip, market goes down 1,000 points, you go buy NVIDIA or something like that at a discounted price, and you're hoping that it goes up. Then what? That means you're going to want to sell it later at a higher price, and that's how you're getting your income in retirement. You're selling stuff to get income. That's really not income. That's not what we talk about here on the show. Yeah, we talk about growth here on the show, but we talk about building income and having something throw off income. It's like having a garage sale. Oh, I made $10,000 in my garage sale. Well, you saw $100,000 worth of stuff to get $10,000. Doesn't make too much sense. So getting income in retirement, there are a number of ways to do it, but trying to sell things in order to do it, there's an end game on that one, is when you run out of stuff. So let's talk about building you income in retirement. Let's talk about all the options out there. And let's talk about using that stock market along the way. Give Mark a call. Let's sit down and have that meeting about your retirement. You're thinking about taxes right now in the month of January. You're thinking about money. You're thinking about financial things. Let's think about your retirement too. Let's get some of those boxes checked off. If you're real close to retirement, it's time to really start to do some numbers on your retirement. 984-300-1984 is the number. 984-300-1984 or moretoretire.com. So I read something in MSN, and a woman said, I made the worst retirement decision of my life. So I read that one. I said, let's see if we can help people steer clear of that. She said what she did was she waited till 70 to take her Social Security. And she really regrets it. And I go, well, we've been telling everybody that the longer you wait, the bigger your check. That should be a good thing. But here's what she said. She was out there working while all of her friends retired early and were going and enjoying their early retirement, going on trips, and she was back there slaving away saying, I'm going to be the responsible one. I'm going to wait till I'm 70. And now she is. And she's getting a check for $5,000 a month from Social Security. But she says, what good is it? Because that check is larger now, but at what cost? The money I'm finally receiving can't buy back my health and my energy. There's a lesson to be learned there, Mark. I feel for her, and I think that this is something that we should really hone in on, because when you see your friends retire and you think you should be out there doing it, maybe you should be.
Absolutely. So let's just say, she's drawing $5,000 a month now, but at 62, she would have been drawing half that, $2,500 a month, right?
Right.
So that's a difference between $30,000 a year, $60,000 a year. However, she would have been drawing that $30,000 a year for 8 years before she hit 70.
That's right.
Which means she would have had $240,000 already in the old pocket, right?
Wow.
That's just understanding that, because what if she died at 72?
Right.
Just let's just put that, pen to paper and say, can you, I'm just laughing about this because I was going to say, can you buy happiness? I mean, we know the answer. The answer is no.
Right.
You can't buy happiness. But truly, in a case like this, if she wanted to retire at 62, take the Social Security then, if she could afford to do it, as opposed to thinking she was being responsible, yeah, she missed out on things in life. And those are the things we don't get back. You asked me, we talked about Christmas recently, Randy. We were discussing, did you have a good Christmas? Did you have a good New Year? All that stuff. You know what? Let me tell you, the thing you don't get back are the priceless moments you have with each other. So the moments, the times, the things that I enjoy the most is when we see family members we haven't seen in a little bit, or maybe we just don't get to see them too often. And all we do is just sit there and tell the funniest stories, things that we went through together, the things we shared together. Well, you certainly aren't going to do that when you're looking at a ledger on a piece of paper, right? With figures. That's not how it works. So we got to go out and live life. And you don't feel the same at 70 as you do at 62, right? And then when you get to 80, it's different as well. And so you have limited number of years to do some things you want to do in life, because we only have one life to live. So my objective with my clients is to show you how we can meet your needs and your wants. And we want to build in these goals and make sure that we can find these places for you so you can do these things so you don't have regrets, because the last thing you want are regrets in life. So our objective, if you want to start with me, you go to my website, moretoretire.com. You're welcome to just upload on my secure upload button to the right-hand side any of your brokerage statements or anything like that. If you want to black out your account numbers and stuff, that's perfectly fine. But if you send it to my secure upload button and then send me a little note on the bottom page and let me know that this was sent, it goes straight to a secure upload button, and we run a financial report. We'll run this financial report. We'll identify certain things about your portfolio and what you're trying to accomplish, and we'll have you come in and we'll talk about those things. It's a great place for us to start because we have this pathway to more, and it's on my website, moretoretire.com, and you can look at our 5 different steps and our processes. And our objective is always to be in a place where we get to know you. We want to know you because we want to make sure that we're giving you good advice, helpful information for your needs and your wants. We don't want you to end up in the situation where this person at 70 years old is regretting not taking Social Security early enough.
When you think about it, you may be listening right now and I wonder if I could retire this year. I'd love to retire this year, but I thought I'd have to go another couple of years, or I've just never had that meeting. I don't really know. We talk about things like dividends on this show, but how many memory dividends are you missing out on? We talk about market losses. How many experiences are you losing out on by not retiring? And if you got the green light from Marc, now that's actually a really cool time, because now you can make the decision, go back to work or not go back to work. And that's a powerful position to be in. Why not come in and let's just do those numbers and figure out if you can retire? And maybe you thought it was going to be 3 years from now. Maybe it's 1 year from now. That's a good meeting too. Let's do the math on your retirement. Start by giving Marc a call, 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984, or use the website, which is moretoretire.com. There's a place at the bottom of the page for you to put a little information in there. Marc reaches out to you, starts the conversation. Let's figure out if we can get you retired on time, maybe early. Wouldn't that be great? 984-300-1984. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, how much do you think you need for retirement? I'm going to give you the average number that people spend per month in retirement. I'll tell you what they're spending it on, and I'll tell you what they're missing out on. And I also found a place where somebody, an advisor, is saying, I'm going to charge you this much for this service, and I don't think they should be charging anything for it. And then they make a promise that I don't think they can deliver on. So we're going to get Marc's thoughts on that one coming up on the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience.
A simple piece of paper. It's something we use every day. For the most part, it does what it's designed to do. It sits there flat on your desk as a placeholder for information. But with a couple strategic folds, suddenly your flat piece of paper becomes an airplane and flies across the room. Your 401k is kind of like that flat piece of paper. It just sits there as a placeholder for your money. Marc Oslar can show you those strategic moves to take your 401k from just sitting there to creating the income you need for retirement. Call today for a free no-obligation meeting. 984-300-1984. That's 984-300-1984. Or online at moretoretire.com.
And welcome back to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. Online, moretoretire.com. If it's time to talk about your retirement, let's not put that meeting off anymore. I mean, you got concerns, you got worries. You see your friends retire, you wonder if you can retire. Okay, let's get the meeting going and put pencil to paper on it. moretoretire.com is the website. Give Marc a call. No obligation, no cost meeting. 984-300-1984. All right, how much do you need to save for retirement? Everybody asks that question. We're not going to deal with that big number today because we've shot holes in all that many, many times here. But according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average retiree spends about $4,600 a month. We could round that up to $5,000 and say you need $60,000 a year in retirement. That puts you about right in that average area. What do they spend the money on? 80% of money in retirement is spent on housing, transportation, and food. Where's the fun? Mark, there's no fun on this list. There's nothing about taxes. There's nothing about health care. There's nothing about fun. So I know that when I started talking about this, I went through one of those situations where they gave me a spreadsheet and they said, figure out every check that you write per month, where does all the money go? And that'll give us a starting point as to how much you need in retirement. And I knew somewhere along the line, somebody's going to say the word budget. And I'm walking out because nobody likes budgets. Maybe we should redo that and call it a spending plan in retirement. I don't know. But Mark, when you start to drill down and figure out what somebody spends per month, what they're going to need per month, what they want to do every month, that's where the rubber really meets the road, isn't it? This is where the real planning starts to take place. How do people react when you start to dig into all of this? Is it like, don't put me on a budget? Or what's the reaction there?
Yeah, you see them as they start to wiggle in their chair a little bit. Seriously, I mean, this conversation literally has to happen because we need to know what you need.
Yeah,
what are your needs, and then of course we want to build the wants in too. So I mean, what are the costs involved? Do you have a mortgage, right? Mm-hmm. Is it sensible for us to pay off that mortgage now or not? Depending on your income needs. So these are the conversations we like to have. I have a gentleman that. He sold a business recently and he decided, I'm going to pay off my house. I know it's a low interest rate, but for me, just for budgeting purposes, it makes more sense for me to go ahead and do so. I'm no respecter either way. It is what is the best fit for my client. So we have the conversation. I'll ask tough questions and we'll get those answers, but we need to know, what does it look like? And then what is it going to look like in 5 and 10 years as well? Because again, we want to prepare for inflation and we want to prepare for taxes. These are really important conversations to have. And, obviously your travel expenses, things like that, let's build all this stuff in and let's make retirement fun and a little bit more comfortable too.
I think that it was actually a good exercise, I thought, to go through all that because you find out where all the money's going per month. And sometimes, if you're not on a budget, you don't know these things. And you say, I'm spending $150 a month for a storage unit that I haven't been to in 3 years. Maybe I should go there and see what's in there and get rid of that bill. Streaming services. When's the last time I watched Hulu? Memberships. When is the last time I've been to the health club? All these different things that you're paying for that you could eliminate. I mean, it's an eye-opening experience to figure out where all the money's going and then to figure out what you really need in retirement. It's actually a good thing. Give Mark a call. That's a good starting point. You can actually do a little bit of that on your own. Maybe you do it already. Give Mark a call, 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. No cost, no obligation meeting. Let's just get the conversation about your retirement started. MoreToRetire.com is the website. So I'm looking online, and I love to go to the advisor columns where Market Watch has one, MSN's got one that, people call in or they write in with their questions, their financial questions. And this person said, I found a financial advisor that says he'll do a Roth conversion for me and I won't have to pay any taxes. And for that service, for that secret ingredient or secret sauce, he wants $5,000. So he's going to charge me to do a conversion, and I don't have to pay taxes. I'm red flags are going off all over the place for me on this one. What is this guy talking about, Mark? And this just seems fishy to me.
Yeah, I know that just kind of trying to understand exactly what he's talking about. That this could be potentially, a bonus from an annuity or something like that. Okay. But to be honest with you, this is not a very smart way to go about things. Mm-hmm. Okay. It doesn't work like that. When you convert to a Roth, there's a taxable event. Yep. That's just the bottom line. hey, somebody says, well, can we avoid this? Oh, well, first and foremost, I'm not avoiding taxes. All right. That's the one thing we're not going to do here. What we're going to try and do is build you some sensible plans. And if we need to involve an attorney or a CPA, we'll do that in addition to what we're doing. But can we look at things from a broad spectrum and an understanding of what we're looking at? Of course, anybody can look at tax brackets, but will we give you actual advice? No, we're going to have good conversations. We're going to get you some good, proper financial advice, in terms of what your needs might be in that particular situation. And again, this has to do with what meets your needs. But a conversion, that's a taxable event. That's kind of like, we were just talking about the other segment, where you're spending your money. Think about it. We didn't even bring up the biggest one on the list is probably for a lot of people, Amazon, right?
Isn't that the truth?
And you could take the rolling 12 months, right? And we could look at those 12 months and take the average of what we spent per month, but let's just take it for the year and then average it out monthly. We might all be averaging $500 a month just off Amazon alone. Yeah. I know it's scary, but the point is, in terms of taxes, you're going to pay them, but we're going to prepare you for them. So, one of the things that I like to do is convert at the right times for my clients. And when are the right times for my clients? But am I going to say, hey, you need to pay me $5,000 and we're going to do some Roth conversion and you're not going to pay taxes on it? No. You're not going to get that kind of advice from me because that's not what we do. What we do in-house is we have two sides of the business. We have the advisory side of the business, the insurance side of the business. But in terms of, as a whole, in terms of your overall planning, that's all a part of your encompassing planning. What we want to do is we want to give you good, helpful information, and we want to make sure that you're making good decisions for yourself. And no, we're not going to avoid taxes.
Well, if somebody said to you, I've got a stock you can buy and I guarantee a 75% return, you'd go, too good to be true. Nah. See, this is that kind of thing too. You got to listen to yourself. That sounds too good to be true. And if it is, it probably is too good to be true. And I mean, this brings up something that you and I talked about, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and that is there's 4 million people a year in this country that are retiring now. I mean, we are retiring at a really high rate right now. And anytime there is a group of people that need a service or they need a product, and there's a huge group of people out there, there's always going to be bad actors that are going to come in there and try to fill that void. It's like a hurricane comes into Florida and people's roofs get blown off, and then people come in and they say, well, for $15,000 I'll fix your roof, and then you give them a deposit and they're gone. And those are the bad actors that come in and try to take advantage of things. I got to believe right now, Mark, there's a lot of baby boomers at the tail end of this thing that are retiring, 4 million a year. There's going to be some bad actors out there. And when I saw this article, it kind of signaled to me maybe bad actor. I mean, have you seen this?
Yes, you come across the idea of the bad actor. I've come across it in my career, quite a bit. And the sad part is that there's not always a great answer for it, especially if you've already been taken advantage of.
Right.
So my objective is, okay, let's pick up the pieces. You're going to get, distinct information from me. I'm going to share with you openly, honestly about your situation, what you should expect, and where we can go from this point. It's all going to be about transparency. So the number one thing you receive when you come to my office is transparency. And I don't want you to have to go through one of those things before you meet me because obviously your guard's going to be more up. I'll give you an example. A person saw one of my commercials recently. We had a phone call meeting and, we never followed up. I followed up over a month later and the person was just telling me, I was talking to coworkers and none of them have financial advisors and so on and so forth. Well, the majority of people don't have financial advisors.
It's true.
But who could use a financial advisor? A person that wants to make strategic planning moves in retirement. You want to build an income model. You want to build preparation for inflation. You want to build preparation for taxes. Do we want to do Roth conversions? Do we need preservation tactics in retirement? Preservation, income, and growth. What's a good, sensible growth in retirement? And so we have these conversations when people come to my office because I want to get to know them. And so what I say is, look, we also involve ourselves with attorneys and CPAs when we need to for advanced strategies. And of course, they're going to be the ones giving the advice on taxes and the law. right? The attorneys and the CPAs. But I'm a part of the process of bringing it all together for my clients, because I want my clients to be able to come to me for a lot of different things so I can assist and get them in the right direction, in the right place. Financial advisors do a whole lot more than just putting money in the market and watch it grow and then taking money out for you and all that stuff. So when I say it's something that's really helpful in retirement, it truly is. And you know what else too? There's a good chance, and I didn't tell a person this, but the person had accumulated a good amount of assets. There's a good chance that the people that they're talking to don't have the same amount of resources or assets. And obviously that increases another opportunity where, hey, do we need to do some advanced planning there as well?
If it's time to talk about your retirement, let's go to somebody who goes through it all the time, has made a living out of helping people work their retirement and build plans for their retirement and helping them retire. That's Marc. Give him a call. Go to the website and let's have the conversation about your retirement. It is 984-300-1984. What does that do? It signals really a phone call and just kind of getting to know you and figuring out what you're looking for, what are your concerns. Let's just have that phone call, get that going right now and see if you're a good fit with Marc and the team. And if we go forward, sit in the office and put the papers out on the table and start to say, this is what I've done for retirement. This is what I want to do in retirement. Marc, can you put the two together? That's really what this is. 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. Website, moretoretire.com. All right, the top 10 signs that you are ready to retire. I've got to believe that, Marc, sometimes people come into your office and they go, I think I can retire. I don't know if I can retire. And then some people look at you, I have to retire, and I have to retire now because they have just absolutely had it. All right, number one on the list is work just isn't fulfilling like it used to be. You are not energized by going to work anymore. You used to love it, but now all of a sudden things are just not the same. Marc, the workplace is changing and new people are coming in. Now you're one of the older people, not one of the younger people anymore. And it just changes, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, you and I were talking about, recently you've been in radio for so many years, right? And how things have changed so much over the years.
Yeah, I used to play records and now it's all computers and it's all different. Yeah.
It's so different, right? So, in your situation, do me a favor, Randy. Don't retire anytime soon, okay? I want to make sure this is fulfilling for you. So please, we're going to keep this fulfilling for you. Truly, we need Randy because he's the best. The bottom line is, if it's not feeling like you're accomplishing something, I get it. Why not do something else? If you feel like you've worked out this situation where you can financially retire, and this work just isn't cutting it for you anymore, well, let's find something fun for you to do, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
The next one on the list is tech fatigue. And I don't know how many times over the last couple of years, okay, we got to learn a new software. We're going to track this. We're going to track that. We got to work smarter. We're going to bring AI into this. Now we're using Copilot and Gemini, figure out how it can make you work smarter and faster. And after a while, you just kind of go, I get it, but I don't think I want to learn one more piece of software. And I think I would be just better if I just moved on. And I know that there's a lot of people who are in their 60s right now that are feeling that.
Oh, yeah. And in our business, on the advisory side of the business, we've got this group that they love us. It's compliance, right? We love them too, Randy. So I'll just say that they're always throwing out some new stuff to us as well. And we have to be ready for it, right? It's like tennis. You got to return that serve. So the same thing in this business is, look, you don't feel like you're cut out for what's happening on the tech side of things and it's starting to bother you or irritate you, or you just don't want to do it anymore. Look, if you can financially get out of there, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out for you. Come in. We can figure out whether you can retire or not. We can have that conversation. We can have that discussion. But it's going to always fall back to the three things we talk about: preservation, income, and growth. We want some preservation tactics for the income. We want to prepare for inflation and taxes. And then what's a good, sensible growth in retirement? So these are the conversations we have. If the tech stuff is bothering you, let's get you out of there.
Let's get you out of there. Exactly right. I think COVID had a lot to do with it. When we all went home and we started working at home and we set up our home desks and all of our stuff there, and we figured out, hey, you know what? This works. we could actually conduct business from home. And then when COVID was over, and now they all say, everybody come back, and you're going, I kind of like working in my sweatpants. And I think that my wife her situation is they bring in a certain amount of people on a certain amount of days. Like you guys come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the rest of you come in on Mondays and Wednesdays, and you still don't see everybody, and you're in your office all by yourself working. You go, I could be at home doing this. I get it. I totally get it. Next one on the list is promotions don't mean anything anymore. They offer you a title. They offer you more money to stay. And you're just like, it's just not doing anything for me anymore. The next one is the Sunday dread. You get out of work on Friday afternoon. Friday's great. Saturday, you get all your work done. And then Sunday hits and you go, oh, tomorrow morning, I got to fight that traffic. I got to get up at 6. And you just don't want to do it. I get that totally, Mark. I know that you've got people that sit in front of you and go, I just can't do this one more day.
Right. I mean, and even talking about the promotions thing, I started thinking about, Christmas Vacation and Clark Griswold, where he was looking for his bonus, right? His Christmas bonus,
right.
But he got a Jelly of the Month Club instead. Yeah, I know he wasn't thrilled about it. He said a few choice words, but truthfully, just an example. Promotion,
Jelly of the Month.
I certainly could use the bonus, not the Jelly of the Month Club. So yeah, it feels like it doesn't mean anything anymore.
That's funny.
Sunday as well, like it's true. I mean, for me, I as a kid, Sundays. Oh, I love football, right? Mm-hmm. And I love watching football. And, even my team wins or loses, I watch it like crazy. It doesn't matter, okay? But the bottom line is I dreaded Monday for school.
Yeah.
I dreaded it. Even through college, dreaded it.
Yep.
But my career, I get excited about Mondays. Like, I'm like, yes. We have a Monday morning meeting. I have a prayer meeting that I do on Mondays. We get into scripture. I get excited. I'm fired up. I get appointments. I've got opportunities in front of me to help people. It's just exciting for me. But if you're not feeling that and you're feeling the jitters of like going back to school, let's get you out of there again. Come on, let's work on this.
Here's one that I know because I see this all the time. You might have checked your retirement accounts once a month, once every 3 months. You didn't much care because it was so far away. Now you're getting closer to using that money. Now you're checking your accounts like every day and you're going, am I there yet? Am I there yet? Am I there yet? And you know what, Mark? I think that people, when they start checking their accounts, then they start asking questions. Should I be doing something different? Should I be doing something better? Can I get to my destination quicker? And that's when they come to you. And sometimes, boring is better. Let's make your retirement exciting and your investments boring. Let's just let that stuff, simmer on the side and keep that income coming. But, being involved in your finances, in your retirement accounts has its ups and downs, doesn't it?
It does. And, stability is really important. So those preservation tactics, if you haven't built an income plan, you're relying solely on Social Security, and you really don't know exactly what you're doing other than looking at your accounts every single day, and you're a little concerned about these types of things. A lot of times people say, okay, well, what would an annuity do for me in a situation like this? Well, again, if you need a certain amount of income based on what we've prepared for, we can take a certain amount of the asset, look at maybe an annuity with an income rider. And these income riders, they call them, they're called guaranteed lifetime income riders. And that's the name behind them. And it's meant to give a person lifetime income. It's not meant for them to just turn it only into income. It's still an asset, but it turns it into a type of income that could be on you or you and your spouse. Now, if we build that into the plan, and there's also some areas where you can build it for inflation too. Maybe you need something like this. Maybe you do. We have these conversations. It's important to know because it's not all about just being in the market and following your accounts every day. That'll drive you crazy.
Yeah. We all worry about our paycheck. We want to get the highest paycheck possible in our working years. Why don't you want to do the same thing in retirement? You need that paycheck. Income, income, income. We talk about it all the time. I'm going to buzz through the last ones here. You see all your friends out there and they're volunteering and they're traveling and they got their hobbies going. You go, I want to be out there. I don't want to be sitting in here at work. And if you've got a window at your desk, all you do is stare out it and you go, I wish I was out there and not in here. You notice that you're the oldest person at work now. The generation gap is starting to get to you. Your friends friends are retiring. Your boss is unbearable. You're just tired. We got a text from my wife's brother the other day, and he said, I just don't have the energy anymore to keep up with the demands of this job. Because as baby boomers, this is one of the things that we're seeing. We're seeing fewer people in the workplace. We're seeing heavier workloads. We're seeing more travel, and we're seeing more demands on us in the final parts of our career, and it's burning us out. And if you are at that point, and that's what this show is all about, if you are at that point and you're feeling all this stuff, that's a signal to you. And it's time at least to have the meeting about your retirement. Give Mark a call. The meeting is free. There is no cost, no obligation to that meeting. Let's run the numbers on your retirement. You've saved. You've done a good job. Let's see what it's going to get you. Here's the numbers. Here's the website. 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. Give Mark a call. No cost, no obligation meeting. Or use the website. Do it this way. More2retire.com. There's a place for you to put some information in there, and Mark will reach out to you and start the conversation. Again, more2retire.com. That is all the time that we have on the show for today. We hope you have a great weekend. We'll be here next week, and we hope you will be too. Have a great weekend.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. Marc Oslar Retirement Experience is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth LLC, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Marc Oslar Retirement Experience are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risks, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be considered as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Marc Oslar Retirement Experience is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute legal or tax advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein are provided by third parties that have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. Market Guard is a firm that provides investment signals as well as portfolio allocation recommendations for a wide variety of model portfolios. Market Guard does not offer advice or enter into fiduciary relationships. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA.